Okay, welcome back, part 5, Project Bonneville. Tonight we're going to do something a little bit more exciting than oil changing and brake pads. We're going to swap the shocks out on the back end. Now these are just hideous. They perform horribly, they look horrible, they look like something from a 1980s Yamaha Virago, and truly, they are hateful on the road. They are oversprung and underdamped. They're like riding along on a pogo stick. They're awful, like riding along with corrugated iron, someone said recently. So we're going to put some of our favourite TEC Bike shocks on that we put on the Scrambler. So stick around, stay tuned, I'll show you what we've got and let's do some unboxing. Okay, you know TEC Bike parts. These are the people who supplied the shocks for the Scrambler, and these are the shocks in question. £89, all alloy, remote reservoir, gas shocks, and these are the ones. We got these to the Scrambler because I wanted something that looked the part. I really did chuck a moonbeam into the daylight and I didn't know whether they'd work or not, but I absolutely struck gold with these. I love them. So we've decided to get a set for the Bonneville. Now, obviously they come in different sizes. There's the 3 bikes in this series. There's the Bonneville, the Scrambler and the Thruxton. The Bonneville is the lowest of the 3, but the Thruxton and the Scrambler are the same rear tail height. Now they are 365mm rear end, and the Bonneville is a 340mm rear end, and this is the 340mm shock. So that's what we've got, that's what's going on today. Remote gas reservoir and a progressively wound spring. Progressive spring, if you've never heard of that, what it means is the top of the spring here, the coils are tighter together, which means that they're a little bit softer and more supple. When they've done their work and they're all sort of collapsed and compressed, then the bigger spring takes over. So you get kind of 2 springs in one, a little bit of a team effort going on. And undo the other one as well. It's like Christmas, isn't it, Ben?
Oh, so exciting.
Now the Bonneville itself has 340mm shocks as standard. That's their standard ride height. So let's show you something first with a tape measure. Let me show you this. Now when we look at the ride height, obviously if you're going to lower anything, which we're going to do today, it pays to measure where you start. So if we measure here, if you come in close, man, that's the centre of that bolt at the bottom to the centre of the bolt at the top, and if you're looking close there you can see 330 or 34 centimetres, which is 340mm in that centre space there. So that's the standard height of the shock at rest. Now with these, when we measure them, the first thing we notice is that when we measure them through the centres, they're only 320, and that's unloaded. That's not even on the bike. So put them on the bike, they're going to drop 10, but they're going to be 310. They're going to be 30mm lower. And where's the 30mm? I think if you've ever seen these before, it's there. Now I showed you these on the Scrambler. Come on over. Okay, these are the ones that fitted on the Scrambler before, and exactly the same shock as you can see there. Everything's identical, but the difference with these is the spring, as you can see, everything there. The spring's a little bit shorter on these, the body's the same, spring's a bit shorter, and at the bottom all that's happened is on these ones I've put this extra spacer in the bottom to jack that up to 365mm. So these are 340mm with the bottom spacer, but I'm not going to put them on because we're lowering the bike today. So they're going to stay in the box. You don't need them. If you do put them on, should you choose to, all you simply do is hold and support the base of this shock with these 2 flats, put a spanner on there and just undo that base eyelet there, take it off, that goes in its place, and the eyelet goes in the bottom of that one instead. So it's just an extension, simple as that. And they are machined billet. They're made at TEC. They're like a little machined billet alloy spacer, and they are very, very good. It's a great idea, and I wish more shock companies would do it, but we're not going to use them. They're staying in the box. Now, first thing we've got to do is take the old ones off so that we can prep the bike, and I'll show you the easiest way to do that. Okay, just going to wet the old ones off. Now, without the fancy bike lift, I want to do this today so that you can do it yourself at home without the likes of bike lifts like this. Just use a standard car trolley jack. If you haven't got a main stand, if you've got a main stand, you can use a main stand. We haven't got one on this, and we're not going to fit one either. And underneath here, you've got the main stand lugs. These are the big solid, what is it, 1/2 inch thick steel lugs that the main stand bolts onto. So what I'm going to use, trolley jack, little sponge block on there, that's the old Lloyd block, and a cloth on top of that to protect the paint. That goes underneath that lug and jacks up. Turn the jack on right into position, and that will just hold neatly on the edge of that. That's it. Like all these things, boys and girls, make sure you work safe. Don't hurt yourself, don't end up with a bike on your head because it's not cool. And it can spoil your morning. Now, all we're doing is jacking up. Now you only need to take the weight off the shock so that when we take it off, the bike don't collapse. And that's the easiest way to do that. Jack it up. Just gently. All we're doing is jacking the bike over onto its side stand, and if you pull the bars to the left, it is quite secure. It's not going anywhere. Just be careful. If you're really worried about this, all you got to do is put the bike right up against the left-hand wall of your garage. If you really, I know I've been doing this for years. I know that's quite secure, ain't going anywhere. But if you're worried, put the bike as far up against that wall and put a blanket or something on the wall. So if it does go anywhere, it's going to stop on the wall. I'll be for thinking. Right. So that's just up. So we've got a little bit of movement in the wheel, but it's not quite released. And we'll just leave that on there. 12mm, and we'll take the old ones off. Now I did this video before on the other bike. Did it blow by blow, step by step, so I'm not going to over lecture on these. I'm just going to whip these off, show you the first step of putting the new ones on. Wiggly wig, and off it comes. Now the TEC Bike shocks themselves, there's the old shock. Something else I've just noticed, hang on, it's up. That has got to weigh half, I reckon. You feel the weight of that, man?
Oh.
And then the standard one.
Oh.
You see what I mean? They are, because they're all alloy, and that's definitely all steel. Obviously you've got a cast alloy top bit there, but that is just
I need to weigh them.
Yeah, we'll weigh them all at the end. So with this, straight away, something we notice, look at the size of the eyelets. They're different. I'll show you why that is. Come on up. Now when you buy your TEC shocks from TEC Bike Parts, you'll find that they come with a pair of spare, or a set of spare eyelets. Simple as that. And what you do is put the old ones out like that, and yep. Okay, lots of rag, protect your new shock, get down into that joint, and just drift them out. I'm sure you saw all this on the last video, not difficult at all. Right, so take your time, use your common sense, and drift these old bushes out. They're going to be scrap anyway, so don't worry about marking them on the inside, you don't need them. These are 12mm holes, which are too small for what you need for the Bonneville. You need 14mm. So when we've got all the holes nicely naked, what we're going to do now is, right, so all those out of the way so we don't confuse them. Strip those down, components. Okay, easiest way to put them in is using the vise. Okay, use your vise as a press. And all I do is pop either side, put plastics in first. So either side of the part, just load it all in. It's a bit fiddly. There we are. Now I haven't any brass jaws really, I should use brass jaws for this, or wooden jaws, but you know what I mean. There we go. So now once you load them in and they go roughly in their position, the idea is to manipulate the shock around very slightly as you press them in, and they'll find a little hole and they'll just slip in. Just takes a couple of seconds. They'll nip themselves an edge and they'll just pop in. Now that one's in. Pop it down a bit. There we are, that's in. So all of a sudden they just go, and then you'll...
Because they're plastic.
They're only soft plastic. No, they're not rubber. Previously they used rubber ones, but I've had a chat with the guys at TEC and they've said that the rubber ones were mincing up a little bit, so they are now supplying these nylon, much more robust bushes. which I think is a good move. I like that. So that's that one in.
Just a bit fiddly to...
Just a little bit fiddly to line them up, but they'll find their own way in. You can do one at a time if you like, but it's easier just to line them both out. In fact, I'll show you that. I like, if I can, do both at once, so you're not pressing on the alloy. And if you do what I should have done a long time ago and make some brass jaws for your vise, you'll have a proper soft surface to push against. Right, let's just hold them in. As long as they line up roughly right, they're kind of almost self-seeking. Now that one's gone straight in. There it goes. You kind of feel them pop, and then, but just do it gently. They don't need to go in under any real force. And the same goes for the brass, when you, or the steel, stainless steel eyelet in the top. Just get it out wide enough. That's it. A little bit of protection. I'm just using a bit of rag. Whatever works for you dudes. And then just, whoops, press that in. There's only one way it can go, and that's into its hole. Just come out a little bit. Shock's a bit close. And then just press it in very gently. Now this second one, the steel, takes a little bit more force to get it in, but it doesn't take enough or too much that you have a problem. I'll show you what it's done when it's ready. There we are. There they are, nicely mounted and pressed in. And the beauty of this is that over and above the rubber ones on the previous shot, which we've got on the Scrambler, funny enough, these are going to last a whole lot longer. They really are. So finally, I'm just going to press this last one in, and then we'll get them mounted on the bike. Okay, both shocks off the bike before you put one of them on, and you'll see the reason why. It was in the other how-to, but I'll get those in a minute. There we go. Let those nasty things off. Now we'll take one shock first of all, and we'll do it on the upside so you can see it. What I'm going to do is just install it on the bike. Right, when you fit your first shock on, don't panic if it won't go over the peg. Reason for that is Triumph put about 27 layers of powder coat over these, and it's obviously the peg itself, the steel peg, TEC have measured them, they know exactly the size, and with the powder coating they're just too big, so if you try and get them on they won't go on. It's only the powder coat, so just take a little bit of emery like that, give them a little clean up, and you'll clean the powder coat off. I wouldn't worry about it, don't panic, because you'll have a bush over it so it won't rust or anything, and it just ensures that they fit properly. And I'm just using a little 320 grit emery paper to just smooth out that powder coat like that, and that will just slip over there nicely then. And I'm going to let the jack down because it don't fit. Oh, look at that. That's how much lower that is now. Okay, when you put these on, just make sure they go in on their own and that you don't use the bolts to draw them in if they're a bit stuck. And the reason for that is obviously the threads aren't man enough to start drawing things like a pressed or any little 8mm thing. Okay, so we've got it on, we've got just basically test fitted. Now there's a little job we have to do. Take it off the jack. Clear everything out of the way. Now I showed you this the last time. This is the process of priming the shock. At the bottom of the shock is where the oil now sits. It's now all at the bottom because we've stood them up, but they've been laid down in a packet, probably upside down, all sorts, and that means the oil is all up and down, there's bubbles in it and all sorts. So, just to prime them in, take it off the stand, and then bounce it right down onto the bump stop about 10 or 15, 20 times. And that just settles everything into place, makes sure that the shock itself, all the oil is at the bottom and all the air bubbles are out of it, okay? Simple. And you can only put one on at a time and do this because when they're both fitted you can't push it down onto the bump stops because they'd be too stiff. Okay, call me OCD, but these old factory bolts, they've got the factory Loctite on and I like to get it off. I like all that old stuff off, clean the threads up completely and put fresh Loctite in place. And there's no better way, absolutely no better way to remove old hardened Loctite thread lock, then just run a tap down it and you get a lovely clean bolt. So let's put that one in. You don't have to be savage with it, you're not cutting the thread itself. All you're doing is just running a sharp edge down it just to take all that Loctite out. It's not cutting threads, it's just cleaning them. And that's another good reason to buy yourself tap and die set. Okay, just cut to the chase on this now. Good old blob of thread lock on the end of the thread. It's a new tube now. Good big blob on there, and take it into the thread all the way in. Now obviously if there's any old Loctite in that peg, then you can run a tap in there, that'll clean that out as well. Do that up to there, same on the bottom one. That's it, big old blob of Loctite on it, and it will surround the thread, find its way in. Now the torque for these, as I said before, 28 Newton meters, 20.6 foot-pounds. So I like to start just a little bit lower for luck. I don't know. That way, not going to overdo them. Let's do the top one up as well. Right, that's 25. Remember, these bolts don't hold the shocks on. They're not actually doing any bearing, so they're only a small bolt. Right, 25, and we wind them up 28 newtons. There we are. Go straight to full torque on that. There it is. Don't overdo them, honestly. They're only little tiny things, you'll snap them off. That's it. Right, and then finally, just marker paint. We've always said this. This is a great way to overcome your OCD or your concern. Just make sure, I've said it 100 times, put a little bit of paint on there, a little bit of paint in the washer, and then you'll see if they've moved. Keep an eye on them, simple as that. Right, there we are, that's it, TEC Bike shocks. Now I'm not going to do any more at the minute, they need setting at right height, but I will measure them. Obviously we started off, they were 340mm between these two centres. And now when we come in, this is their absolute lowest possible setting. We've left out the spacer peg at the bottom, and we've kept them on their smallest, their lowest platform setting, because as soon as you start winding these collars down, it jacks them up. They are platform adjustable, so pop that in there, and there we are, 315 with no weight on the bike at all. So we have dropped 25mm, that's dropped a whole inch with no weight on the bike whatsoever. It's just mad, isn't it? Do you know me low enough? It's like your Harley. Right, there we are, fitted and finished, but we're not going to do the collar adjustment and jack them up at all yet, because I've just dropped it off the jack and Penny likes that look. I mean, that is slammed.
I like it. It looks sled.
It is slammed, isn't it? Slam the body, baby. But we're going to set the front before we set the back. So we're going to put we've got some new springs for the front. We're going to cut the spacers down an inch so we get the front level, so the underneath of the frame is level with the ground. And that will mean bringing these up just a little bit, perhaps half an inch, so you get a little bit more reaction out of them, because nothing should be right down on its minimum. Doesn't do any good. Nice, just a little bit of adjustment so that it's actually working in its proper area of adjustment. Now, something else I just want to address, and that is some dissent that we had about these when I put them on the scrambler, and that is that people came to me in comments over and over and said that they've heard a rumour these are made in the Far East, and we've always advocated that TEC Bike parts are in the UK, they're up in Newcastle, and that these are made in England. Well, let me explain. It's extremely simple. The component parts, the outer shell of the shock, and the basic parts come from a complete shock from the Far East, and what the guys at TEC do is they buy them in, they rip them apart, and they tune them properly from start onwards. They put new seals in them, new bushes, new valving, new damping, new spring, a progressive spring on them, and they turn them out to a very high standard. These little spaces at the bottom, they machine all that properly. So what they're doing is, they're very much like Triumph gave the Daytona to Cosworth, and Cosworth tuned it and made the Daytona Super 3, a very legendary bike. So this is a fine British tradition where British companies will take a part and they'll improve it. That's been going on since time began, it really has. And the other side of it is, these bikes are built in Thailand anyway, so what's your problem? Get over it. You know, this bike isn't built in England. This is built tens of thousands of miles away, and I don't care, it doesn't bother me. The reason these are the right shocks for the bike is that they're £89.99, not £500 with a little blue Öhlins badge on, because this bike can't exploit the Öhlins shocks. It really can't. You pay £550 for a set of Öhlins, and yes indeed they'll probably be better than these. Well, I would imagine they'd obviously be better, but is that really going to be exploited in a bike? It's a Bonneville, isn't it? Is it going to exploit that? Is it going to matter? It really isn't, is it? You haven't got the tyres for it, let alone anything else. So they are in keeping with the bike. They're a high standard. I've ridden them on the Scrambler now for 1,000 miles, and I've never found them lacking. They're smooth, they're supple. They do take a while to run in. I found that. Get them on the bike, do about 500 miles on them, and if you really want to find out whether they're any better, ride them for 500 miles, then put your old shocks back on. You will be staggered at the appalling drop in quality, because that's exactly what I did with the Scrambler. I bunged my original shocks back on because I really was concerned, are these actually any better? And oh my God, really? That's just like riding along on a sheet of corrugated iron. And then when you put these back on, they're lovely and smooth again. So they very, very much are way better. I honestly, in all my experience of 30 odd years doing this, I can't understand how they can be 90 quid, but they are. So just live with it, enjoy them, buy them, put them on your bike, and you'll definitely agree with me. The other side of it is, they do a 14-day guarantee on them, money back. So if you don't like them, get them, open the box. If they're not happy, if you're not up to the standard you like, put them in the box, send them back, they'll give you your money back. And I don't think you can say fairer than that. You certainly wouldn't get that from Olin's, I don't believe. So there we are, TEC Bike parts, put a link underneath if you want to buy yourself a pair, $89.99. We love them, we've got them on both bikes now. And this isn't really a plug for TEC Bike parts. I know it might sound like it, but this is because I care about what you have on your bikes. And there are many Bonneville owners are joining us now that we've got these bikes, and they're asking this all the time. Are they actually, what should I buy? Some of our very good friends have got other options, Hagen's and so on, and they're very expensive and they're really not that much better. These are better and they're not expensive. So there we are, buy yourself a set if you like. And if you do, let us know how you get on. Say hi to the guys at TEC from us and give them our compliments. We absolutely love them. So we're going to fine tune them when we do the front. Until the next video, join us then and we'll set the whole lot up. Take it easy, ride safe. See you next time.